Today I want to demonstrate how easy it is to navigate within a world-class manufacturing ERP system that has all modules residing on a single real-time database. This includes customer order entry through final accounting and everything in between. Although for this presentation I'll try to remain focused primarily on system navigation related to a sales order, work order, and delivery of a single product. I've created a dummy company called Apex Manufacturing with a single product called a wheel assembly and a single sales order for that product. And so going directly to that sales order, we can go through the sales order menu, come down to search open sales orders. And of course, there is only one because that's all I've entered, as I mentioned. And here we have it, S21401. When you see something highlighted in blue, such as the sales order number or the customer ID, that's an active link. And by clicking on that, it takes you into, in this case, the address book. All of the information now for customer C001, Mike's Custom Bicycle Shop, and starts off with general information of address and so forth, and then there's much more detail here in the second tab. And in the customer tab, you can actually access accounting down here and see the current statement and so forth, which I'm going to hold off on until a little bit later in this presentation. But again, quite a bit of information here. Then you can go to the contacts tab, sales codes if there are any, etc., freight, sales catalog. Backing back out of this, let's go into the sales order itself. And so here we have sales order S21401, the customer PO over here, 21-10285. And as we've already seen in the address book, we know it's Mike's Custom Bicycle Shop. You can see the information here. His main address, bill to and ship to, which happen to all be the same in this case. And this bar can be shut down or it can be left expanded. And then you look down here at the sales order items, and we have only one item, item 1, and here it is, the wheel assembly that we will look at in a lot more detail. This sales order is for that wheel assembly, and it's for a quantity of 15, of which we've already shipped 10 in this scenario. And here's the price and the extended value and when it's due. There's also reference to the specific work order that was created to make this part, and we will look at that in more detail, but I want to get there in a different way. We're going to get there through the part master. So for now, I just want to kind of show you the information that you can access from this area, and that there is, again, these different tabs that show up on the item. So it says we've shipped 10. If we wanted more information on that, we hit the shipper. And sure enough, here's our shipper number, and it's for that part number. We shipped 10, and the invoice that was created as a result of that shipment is right here. Again, I want to avoid going into accounting at the moment, but just to see that it's all connected, and it can be accessed from this area as well. The transaction from a general ledger standpoint and so forth. If there had been any return material authorities issued and we received product back for whatever reason, that would be here as well. There are none, so obviously it's blank. So as I mentioned, I want to go to the part master itself, which, as anyone who has been involved with manufacturing ERP knows, it's basically the core of the engineering module, and it's basically the building block of the entire system. It contains all essential data for every part number in the system, including how to make or buy it and all of its related inventory information. And so here we have the wheel assembly. A nice little feature, I think, is that you can add photos for each product or each part master. And in this case, we have a bill of material. It's something that we make, and we have a work instruction. So if we take a look at the bill of material from here, we can see we have various different ways of viewing it, but in this case, the tree view, of course, includes the parent. And if we look at the list view, it's just the components. And we have what you see here, of course, axle, some nuts, a rim, spokes, tire, and they have an operation for outside processing, op 020 for this part, and we'll look at that a little bit more in detail when we get to the work order. So backing back out of this screen, back to the part master, we can also see it has a work instruction. And if we look at the work instruction, there's an operation. There's only a few. Of course, this is, again, all dummy information, but I basically just created an operation 10. Assemble it in Work Center 100. Operation 20 is the outside processing, outsourcing, clean and polish, and then Operation 30 is final inspection. And that's basically the work instruction for this demonstration. Okay, so down into the area of inventory, this is something we need to look at, I think, a few different ways. Basically, it's saying at the present time we have 3 pieces on hand, and they're located in warehouse 1, location FG finished goods 0100C. There are 5 on demand, which we already saw in the sales order. That's the sales order again, and we see the 5 on demand. We look at what is on order. Here we have the work order. Item 1, we ordered 15 on the work order, and we'll get into this detail more so in a few moments. And right now, it remains on order 2 because we've already assembled and completed 13, in which we've already seen 10 of those we've shipped. So going back down to the inventory information, if I click on this arrow here, it takes me into another screen, which kind of just shows once again the location of the 3 parts right now in warehouse 1. But down in the right hand corner is a link to the inventory log. I'm going to touch on this in more detail in a moment once we get to the work order, but for now, just to know that the inventory log maintains a detailed record of everything that happens to a part, into or out of inventory. In this case, pretty simple. We had 13 pieces going in on this work order, and then we had 10 pieces shipping out here against this sales order, and this was the shipper number that was involved. So I'm going to go back to the part master, and we're going to go into what's on order, and now we're going to get into the work order itself. Okay, so here we have the work order itself. Work order 21-0001, and it's, of course, our own manufacturing department. And then down here is the one item for the work order, the part number, the work instruction. I'll jump over here to sequence 10. We're still in sequence 10 because we have two pieces yet to be completed. But also, again, you see the link to the sales order, which we've seen a couple of times already. And this is the purchase order that was used for the 13 pieces that were processed outside, outsourcing. So it's nice to have that link. And back on the work order itself, I want to get into the part detail over here. And here we have basically the bill of material as it was assigned to this work order, the quantity required of each of the pieces or the parts, how many have been issued so far, whether anything is on hand for those that have not been issued, which in this case we do have 2 tires on hand. We know they're sitting in the dock location. And of course, outsourcing, we are still short 2 because they haven't made it that far. And there's the order again that we used for the first 13. So what I want to do is just go into the tire and show you more of the detail that's available in a case like this where there's been a lot more activity related to the inventory log. So we go down to the log itself for this tire. You'll see that the new on-hand quantity is what is the key and watch as far as how things are changing here. But the reasons for those changes are captured in each one of the transactions that have been affecting it. So in the first occurrence of activity, we had the purchase order receipt for 15 pieces that came in on this receiver. Then we had 2 pieces that we actually issued an RTV on and had an RTV shipper. So they were rejected back to the vendor in this case. And again, it's just a scenario I created to show how we are capturing anything and everything related to each part that's in the system. So that left us with 13 on hand. But we had a transfer order. We transferred them from the dock on this transfer order to the location in warehouse 1. Then we had the 2 pieces coming back in from that vendor rejection back into a new receiver. And while those 2 pieces were still sitting on the dock, we had issued from the location in warehouse 1, 13 pieces to the work order over here, which we know have then since been assembled. So that's the level of detailed information and ultimate audit trail maintained by the inventory log. And just to follow through with associated accounting transactions, if we take a quick look at this PO here that was issued for the tires, here we have Tire City, PO 21-0002, and item 1 for the tire. And you'll see here it showing 17 ordered and received, but that is basically must be netted from the RTV that we had here. RTV shipper, RTV number was for 2 pieces. So net of that, we actually netted 15 pieces. Here's the receivers, 15. Of course, 2 rejected on the RTV, and then 2 came back in. Transactions for the general ledger here. Now let's go to the vendor. And if we go to the vendor tab, we come down here to the accounting area and vendor statement, and how you'll see the 2 invoices for both initially 15 and 2 additionals, but also the RTV then that offset that with a debit memo here for the 2 pieces. So net of everything, here is the total that we owe this vendor at this point, which is $78.75. Well, that pretty much concludes this demonstration related primarily to the navigational capabilities of what I consider a world-class, fully integrated manufacturing ERP system. Whether you're currently in the market for an off-the-shelf ERP system or simply in the process of developing your own, I hope this presentation provides at least an idea of what you should expect in the way of access to real-time data. Thanks for watching.